Good evening and welcome to this week's very special Furious Forecast one-shot. Almost forgot what we call these things. These are our shorter, easier to digest podcasts in which we usually focus on a single topic. This evening, my fellow host Max Parker,
Hello. Hello.
who's fallen asleep at the wheel here, and I are going to discuss Dark Souls 2. We are the only two people on this podcast because I think we're the only two who have played it for any substantial amount of time. Scott, Mr. Grill, has flat out said Dark Souls is just not his thing, and he is stuck still in Stick of Truth. Not stuck, but, stuck. Willfully stuck in Stick of Truth. So here we are to discuss Dark Souls and dying a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Forever.
forever and a day. So, I'm going to start off by giving a shout out to Mr. Dan Tack and say, God bless you, sir, for beating it.
Speaking of Dan Tack, he had the gall today to say on Twitter that Dark Souls 2 isn't a difficult game. It just has to be approached differently.
You know what? We're going to talk about that this evening.
It's difficult. I mean, it's difficult and it has to be approached differently.
Yes, that's true. But, so let's just dive right into that. So,
Okay.
The difficulty of Dark Souls, and this is something I've always said, because I'm the first person to admit I'm not good at Dark Souls. Like, I'm not really good at it, and I would never claim to be good at it. I die an awful amount of times. But the reason Dark Souls is difficult is because it requires one skill and one skill alone. Patience. You have to be so patient. And games today, well, actually, I would take that back. It does kind of require two skills, but patience is the big one. Patience is the big one because, my God, and so games do not reward our patience anymore. They just don't. I mean, I can't even. Dark Souls is probably the only game I can think of in the last few years where it's like you don't just run in, guns a-blazing, or sneak by all the things, right? Like, most games are very straightforward, and here's 20 enemies. Now go into the next room. There's 20 more. Dark Souls is very much about, here's one enemy. Enjoy.
Sometimes.
Sometimes they put you in a room with 10 guys and
Right. And then like a big guy at the end of those 10 guys, and then if you die, you go back and have to fight through those 10 weak guys to get to the big guy again. So it's not always. See, that's like a challenge, like facing a boss and then dying and then having to replay that fight that's actually kind of fun to me because then it's a learning process. Like, what did I do differently this time, and what did I do wrong? But when you have to go through those 10 guys to get to the boss every single time, that's when it starts to be like a time waster. Like, man, I'm spending a lot of time on this. Like, my problem isn't beating these early guys, but I still have to go through these guys to get to the boss. Like, that's when it gets frustrating for me.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. But I think the thing that I almost always learn in Dark Souls, and this is almost always the lesson I learn, is that I got cocky and impatient. Like, slashed the guy and then ducked and weaved, slashed the guy, ducked and weave, and then I was like, fuck it, slash, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
You got me.
Yep.
So,
and, yeah,
it's almost always what it is.
Yeah, and you always have to concentrate even on the weakest of weak enemies. You can't just hack through those guys. You still have to concentrate. You can't let your guard down, really. Literally.
No, you really can't. Literally. You cannot just, this game is not at all about spank and tank. I would say there's almost zero fights in here which are spank and tank. You are constantly guard up and walking, moving, rolling, trying to get away from them. And I guess the counter argument I would pose to your point is that I think the game really does want you to pay for making mistakes. Like, oh, did you get cocky on that guy? Back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, and you can see the developer smiling at you when it happens. Like, oh, you.
Yeah.
It's a little sadistic. It is, but it does. It requires Zen-like patience. And I put this in my Dark Souls review, and I'm probably going to put it in my Dark Souls 2 review, that if you're the type of person who gets frustrated easily, just skip it.
Yeah.
Just keep walking.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. It can't be for everybody.
It's not. No, if you're a controller spiker, this game, no, just don't.
Mm-mm.
And then,
yeah.
Go ahead.
The whole, and then just how you collect souls too. On top of that, like it's not just getting past guys, getting past like guys who increase in difficulty. Like there's also that, cause if you've never played, the way it works is you collect souls and those souls are when you kill enemies, you get souls, and then you use those souls to level up. If you die while carrying souls, you lose them all, but you can go back to where you died and collect all the souls that you once had. If you die on the way to get those lost souls, they're gone forever.
Kaput.
Meaning they're gone, yeah. So if you had a collection of 10,000 souls and you weren't able to get back to where you need to go to level up, and you die and then die again, it's gone and you wasted however much time it took to earn those souls. So you could really back yourself into a corner in this game.
Especially in this game, and something that you haven't mentioned that shocked the hell out of me for Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 1, if you lost, say, 10,000 souls, it wasn't that big of a deal because stuff respawned constantly. As we've said, it respawns, so you could just keep going back and killing them and going back and killing them. In this game, if you die X number of times at like a certain area or on a certain guy, they'll stop respawning.
Yeah.
So not only can you not replace your souls, and souls is how you level up, let's make sure that's clear, you also have less chance of picking up humanities and effigies to turn yourself back human. And let's go ahead and talk about the changes with hollowness, shall we? As Max mentioned, when you die, you turn hollow, which basically means you're kind of like a walking, shambling, undead, quasi-undead kind of guy. By offering these humanities and effigies, you become human again. Now, being human has certain benefits to it. And in last game, it had certain benefits too, but they weren't that noticeable. Like, you could actually go a pretty long way in Dark Souls 1 being hollow and not really notice. In this game, if your health bar is here, the more hollow you get, the more it starts to tick until you're at the halfway mark. I found myself running through the game for about a good hour and a half at fucking half health.
Mm-hmm.
That's not okay.
Sure.
It's not okay.
Yeah. And the key is to just suck it up and take it when you have to just go through the game with half health until you get to a boss, and then you have to fight that boss with half health, learn the boss's patterns with half health. Then, once you figure it out, then you use an effigy to get your full health back, and then revisit the boss. So it's a fun, like, I don't know, kind of meta game of planning.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and I guess this sounds so weird, but that's the other skill that this game really uses is thinking, because they don't spell anything out for you aside from a very brief tutorial, which is almost literally how to swing, how to dodge, how to run, enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the only clue that they really give you for the fact that, by the way, you got to figure this shit out is in the beginning, there's a part where they say, pay attention to your surroundings. It's like, oh, okay. And the sign's there, right? And you're kind of like, there's this gap, and you have to kick over this tree to make it into a bridge, right? That's about as obvious as it gets. So yeah. I actually wasted about the first 2 hours in my gameplay so you go through your initial area, right? And this game, one of the new changes they've made is there's actually a central hub town type thing now. If you played Dark Souls 1, you may recall that like you had to go one place to find the vendor, one place to find the blacksmith. Now they've kind of encased that in a town, which is kind of nice. But once you get into the town, there's two ways you can go. And I went the way that looked the obvious way, which was the wrong way. And I couldn't figure it out. I was like, why is this so hard? Oh my god, this is so hard. And then all of a sudden I started looking around. I'm like, I'm going to go somewhere else for now. And I was like, oh wait, this place is a little easier. Oh.
Yeah, like, and that, I don't think the open world style is the best route for a game like this. Because
I disagree.
Because you can waste so much time and not even know that you're in the wrong area. Like, there's nothing that helps you and suggests to you that you're in an area that's too difficult. And if it wants to be like a throwback to a punishing trial and error game, like those games were linear and got progressively difficult. I think I would like Dark Souls more. It's not that I dislike Dark Souls, but I would like it more if it were more linear. Because it doesn't. I don't. It gets to the territory where it's not respecting the player's time, because you could just be wandering around an area, and you don't like really know where to go. You just have to kind of explore and find the right path.
See, I would say that they're respecting your intelligence, because most games now are almost literally dragging you by the nose down a hallway. Come on, you gotta go here, you gotta go here, you gotta go here. Flashing arrow, go over there. And that gets a little irritating to me, especially in games where they kind of want you to explore. Like, they drop you into a giant room, right? And they're like, you gotta go here, you gotta go here. And you're like, but there could be something behind this crate. Like, I get a little tired of that. And I'm really tired of some of the linear, maybe it's because we're coming off of Thief. That was the last game I played before this, so I like that they want you to figure it out. They want you to have trial and error. And really, I mean, I got a good way into that Heal Days, Fire, whatever.
Yeah.
I got a good way into there before I realized, oh, this place is really hard. And then I found the Forest of Giants and was like, oh.
Yep.
So, I mean, I got pretty far into that area. So you can do it. You feel like an idiot once you find the easier area. No, easier.
Right.
Don't ever mistake. Easy. And I mean, they'll let you do it. If that's how you want to roll, you just roll on ahead like that. And I always feel like the developers are sitting there like, interesting. I would have gone a different way. Like.
Yeah, it's kind of like an open book. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but. Also, where it gets to not respecting the player's time, there's no pause.
So, that does piss me off, and that is one of the features that does piss me off, because I have a 6-year-old, all right? Like, and I have to pee occasionally, you need to get a drink occasionally. Sometimes you just need to walk away, because you're like, I gotta take a breather. There's no, like, that is one feature of this game that I'm always like...
Yeah, I don't understand the benefit of not having a pause. Like, you can put a pause in there and still not make you able to take a take a health potion or a health use any kind of item.
Right, like
pause.
The what's that? What am I looking for? The items and the weapons and stuff like that. That doesn't have to be paused. Like that can be real time, but there should be under game options pause. Like there's been times when I've actually just exited out of the game. So I could go to the bathroom or something stupid like that. Like, I just lost all that time.
Yep. And it's so strange. Back to I wanted to mention this about open world. Like, what's the last open world game that you can recall that doesn't have a map? There's no map. There's no. And even games that aren't open world have a map. So it's really it's you can go. Where the world is yours, you can go wherever you want to, wherever you can handle.
So the way that I defend no map, and I agree with you, I do miss the map because it's amazing what slaves we have become to a mini map.
Sure.
Like I admit it too. Even in games that aren't linear, I become complete slave to the mini map because you're used to looking up. So one of the things I've always liked about Dark Souls and now Dark Souls 2 is that the way they've designed the world, they have designed it and purposely so you to feel like you don't belong there. Like Darksiders is a good example, right? Everywhere you go, that moss stuff that you can cling on is there. In Assassin's Creed, there's always like ledges and stuff that are just waiting for you to grab them. This game has nothing like that. You really feel like you don't belong here. So the fact that, like, when you think about a mini-map as a gamer, you're like, I really need that. But logically, do you really think everyone would have a mini-map? Like, I look at Skyrim, where everything's, like, marked for you.
Yeah.
Like, hey, there's a house on the horizon. How the fuck would I know that? Come on.
Right. Yeah, and staring at a map, a mini-map, or, like, a full map for 50% or more of a game does take you out of that element. It does, you end up not enjoying the world you're in and just staring at the map and just following along a route. Yeah, so it is kind of refreshing.
It is, because I've done that a lot. In fact, I have like 200 hours in Skyrim, 220 I think actually in Skyrim at this point. Because when I'm bored sometimes and I have nothing else to play, I'll just pop in Skyrim and I will literally just stare at the mini-map and just run along until I find stuff I haven't discovered yet. There are still things I have not yet discovered in Skyrim. So, and yeah, and you spend a lot of time just not even paying attention to where you're going. So I like that about Dark Souls. They want you to look at this world. They want you to appreciate it.
Yeah.
They want you to feel like you just don't belong here. Why are you here?
Yep. And it does it well. It does that very well.
It does that very well. In fact, I think that's one of the things that I really love about Dark Souls, other than the fact that I like the world in general. It's very dark, it's very foreboding, it's very gothic, right? And I like the fact that you don't belong. Like, I always point to, when I talk about, like, not belonging, I always think of the first Dark Souls, where you're in, I think it's on Orlando, and you're going up that cathedral and you're running along those buttresses. You should not be there! I fell off so many times. And that's another thing about this game. Oh my god, ledges are ledges! Like, really, real ledges! And,
what do you mean?
Like, you could fall off those friggin' things.
Yeah, and so can enemies.
Yes, enemies can, and when you
it's a nice bonus. It's a nice gift.
Right? Like, every time you get an enemy to go off the edge, you're like,
yep.
Yes, I am so good.
Yeah. It's hard to recreate, too. It's like, oh, I know he fell off that one time, and then I wanted that to happen again, but it just sometimes doesn't.
Every now and then you can time it right if you have an enemy that does a lunging attack.
A lunge, right.
The problem being that I'm not even going to tell you how many times I've rolled myself off a cliff with him. Yeah. I'm like, crap.
It's the way, yeah, the way, and I don't even feel bad because the game is so brutal and mean to the player. Like, if I can cheap out a character or an enemy who got stuck, like on a pixel or something, just because that happened once, and he like couldn't move, and I was like, yes, I'm just gonna hack away at this dude's back, and I didn't even feel bad. Like, no, this game's so mean. Like, no, it deserves that.
I'd actually say this is probably one of the few games that when a bug happens, it feels like a blessing. Mm-hmm. When it's something like that, they get stuck on something, and you're like, hell yeah!
Yeah.
Boom!
Yeah, you gotta take
execute.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You gotta take what you can get in this game.
There's a part early in what is that, Hell blah blah things. You have to go up these stairs, and there's like a door that's mostly open, and a dude with a shield behind it. That guy will, like, he'll occasionally get stuck on that door, so you can run up, chop at him, run back, and he has a lot of trouble. And this is kind of a complaint, but it ends up working in your favor, so I'm gonna take it. Occasionally, enemies have trouble fighting you on stairs. Like, you can be beneath them and you can attack up at them, but they kind of swing and miss at you, which I guess makes logical sense, because fighting on stairs is not the best place to fight, because somebody gets the high and low ground. But, like, sometimes when it happens, you're like, I don't think that was supposed to happen.
Yep. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you gotta watch out. The game will surprise you, because I was taking advantage of, like, the enemies are so big and bruising. Like, I could find them where there's a doorway. Well, they're chasing me, but they can't get through the doorway, so I just stand on the other side and just hack away. Well, I tried that later in an area, and these two enemies were trying to get me through this door, and neither one could fit. And then one did, and I was like kind of hacking away, and then one did like a lunging attack. And they just brought the whole wall down. So the whole wall that was separating me from the enemies, the whole wall. And I was like, I'm out of here. And I just
It's kind of excellent.
Tables turned. Actually. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of excellent.
So we've talked a lot about what we like about Dark Souls and that open world style. Dark Souls 1 and 2, actually. But we've never talked about Demon Souls, and Demon Souls is like the same thing, but it's not open world. It's more linear. Do you like? What are your thoughts on Demon Souls? I've never played it, but I just know a little bit about it.
I did not love Demon Souls. In fact, actually, I think I may have written an article on not liking Demon Souls after I played Dark Souls, because I played it first off, and I'll admit, because it's me, Demon Souls was PS3 exclusive.
Yes.
And everyone knows my feeling about playing games on PS3.
Oh.
So I already was kind of, I don't play the controller, I hate this controller. Like, I was already kind of grumbly with it, but Demon Souls, in hindsight, it didn't feel as polished. Like, Dark Souls feels like it's difficult for a purpose, whereas Demon Souls, I almost feel like it was difficult for the sake of it. And I didn't like the linearity, but there were occasional areas where it was a little open-ish, but God, I did not want to explore in that game. And I have to admit, and I know this makes me sound like a bad Souls fan, Demon Souls, I was, and then I picked up Dark Souls. I don't remember why I ended up reviewing that game. It was actually a fluke because I was the only person who volunteered to review it or something like that, and I really liked it. So yeah, no, Demon Souls was. I mean, I know some people really liked it, and I've actually read what article? Maybe it was on GameSpot or maybe Joystick. They talked about somebody actually wrote an article explaining why they thought Demon Souls was better than Dark Souls, and it was interesting. Can't say I agree, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like
give that a try. I just haven't played it.
I wonder if I still have my copy. Maybe I would lend it to you. It's pretty cheap. You can pick it up like for $8 or $9 now.
Yeah, I'd also need a PS3. PS3 died. Remember?
Oh, I'm sorry. I could send you mine. It's a brick. Not an actual brick. It just keeps our fire door closed. Our fire doors.
It does that
don't
well.
Close. So, like prop. Sorry, Sony. No, I think the games, they're getting more and more polished. I was shocked at how some of the difficulty that they increased in Dark Souls 2. I was like, oh, bastards. I like some of the things. So they had made a statement early on, and I'm sure you remember this, where they had said that they were going to make the game more accessible. And all the Souls fans flipped out because, you can't make it more acceptable. So let's talk about that accessibility, shall we?
Yeah,
accessibility.
I don't know how it was any more or less accessible than Dark Souls 1.
I think the bonfire travel system. Maybe? Like, I'm reaching here. I'm really reaching here. I think maybe that's a little more, that makes it a little more accessible. The town, the fact that there's a town.
Hub. Yeah.
Yeah, hub. The hub has a talking cat. That's amazing. First I was sitting there, I was like, oh, cute kitty, and then it talked to me. Like, oh, talking kitty, so I love it already. But that maybe makes it a little more accessible. I'm not sure. So one thing that a feature I'm not really sure how I feel on it yet is that you have to go to that chick to level.
Yeah.
I am not sure how I feel about that yet.
Why?
So before, and granted this felt a little weird, you could just level at any bonfire, right? I think I like that better because part of Dark Souls is making you feel alone, right? They really want you to feel alone in the world, like you don't have a single friend, buddy. And I think that kind of drove that home, like it's just you and the fire and you're making an offering to the fire, but now you go and talk to some chick and it kind of feels a little more traditional RPG-y. Right? Like, I keep expecting a little, like, question mark to go above her head every now and then when I go back to level with her.
Yeah. No,
that's kind of reaching, but I admit it. But I don't really like that part.
It is, and this kind of actually goes back to how I don't think the game respects time, is that, like, it makes sense to just level up at a bonfire. Like, why do I have to go through this extra step to go back to this area, sit through another loading screen, talk to this woman who's going to say the same thing again, then level up.
Bearer of the curse.
Right. And then revisit the bonfire, travel back to the bonfire where I just was. It makes sense to level. You should need to access a bonfire because you have to make that choice. Do I want to sit at this bonfire and level up and then have everything respawn around me? Because when you go to a bonfire, every enemy in the world respawns. So it still should be linked to a bonfire, but having to go back to that area is just, it's tedious. It really gets tedious.
It does. And yeah, I feel, that's the only time, like, I generally, I don't always agree with you that they don't respect the player's time, except in that instance. Because sometimes, like, and that's always how I feel about it, is I'm always like, and there's times, I don't know, there's that one I'm still kind of iffy on. Not sure how I feel about that. And one of the things I didn't really love this is that when you're in the Forest of Giants, or when you're in that Hill Days, whatever, you can actually just run back to her. Like, you can just take the time to run back to her, level up, and it doesn't reset everything.
Right.
That kind of felt a little cheap from a Dark Souls perspective, right? Because part of leveling up meant, I'm going to have to fight this shit again.
Yeah. But hey, there's no cheapness in Dark Souls. If you can get around it.
It's true, actually. Since we just made that argument, in a way.
Right.
But I always kind of felt like that was the only time that I was like, okay, that was a little cheap, Jen. Like, there were times just like I should travel back, shouldn't I?
You gotta take what you can get.
It's true, especially in Dark Souls.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I read you wrote a really good article on your blog about it, and I was trying to give you crap about it today, but Max wouldn't let me. So, because you start off.
I think you read it.
Hey, I read all the Max things.
I appreciate it.
You started off by saying that, I've never really liked Dark Souls, and this feels like really grumbly and gripey, but then you get to it and you're like, actually, I'm starting to really like it. Mm-hmm. I mean, are you still enjoying it?
Yeah, because there's that hope that I'm making progress. I never got to that level of in the original Dark Souls. It was just I was dying. I wasn't becoming stronger. I wasn't progressing anywhere within the world in Dark Souls 1. I guess I probably should have given it more of a chance or stuck with it longer. Maybe it would have clicked, but it just never did. It took a while to get there in Dark Souls 2, but it's there. I'm leveling up. I'm reaching new areas now. I'm beating some bosses. It's still very difficult, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of deaths, but I'm there. So it's starting to click. It's starting to click.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that, because I remember I had talked to you. Was it sometime on the weekend? Maybe on Sunday I talked to you, and you were ready to throw the towel in. You're like, nope, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm not reviewing this thing. I'm done.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, oh, come on, Max.
That was, and see, difficulty is not the problem I have. It's always a time thing. If I feel like if I'm not getting anywhere, because that was when we spoke on Sunday, that was like right after a 4-hour wandering session where I was just wandering pretty much in circles. I didn't realize I was done with an area. I thought like I would go through this area to a new area, but I had to go back and backtrack and find a new area, which was that tower, that Hyld's tower. I had to go there, and I didn't even think that was a possibility. I slayed this boss in this one area, and I wanted to just progress, because you get a key, which opens these doors in these castles. So I was like, well, there's got to be a door in here that leads to something else. And it did. It led to another boss that was way out of my league that I couldn't even hit. Before, like, I died like 10 times maybe, and then I just explored more. And it was 4 hours of just wandering around, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. I don't have time to just fritter away here with this game. But then that's when I found some new areas, and that kind of segues into kind of what I like most about Dark Souls and, well, Dark Souls 2, but it's kind of Dark Souls in general, is that in this day and age where it's impossible, like all the information about a game is online. Like, you can just look at a complete walkthrough of how to go about a game. Like, Dark Souls is somehow immune to that. You go to, like, it sparks this conversation of people who did it, like, someone will say, I did it this way, or someone will say, I did it that way, or, like, you can try this, try that. Like, it's an open book with a lot of different ways to go and a lot of different ways to approach, like, any section of this game. And it's really unique in that way. Like, it's really difficult to make a game like that in this internet age, but somehow Dark Souls has done it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, it sparks this cool conversation. Like, oh, you need to try this. It's like, oh, what do I do here? Oh, you try this. Like, I didn't know, like, the blacksmith's place is locked, and all my weapons were broken. I was like, I'm down to, like, my basic sword because all my weapons are broken, and I can't find the blacksmith key. And they're like, oh, you have to go to this shop, and there's the key there. I was like, ah, awesome. And it's cool because it sparks this conversation with gamers helping each other. It's pretty cool.
It is really cool, and I think, you know, like in Dark Souls 1 there was, and I think this is here too, but this is really it's only been since Tuesday that the online servers have been available so that you're aware of other people. I've always loved the online component to Dark Souls, which I'm sure we'll talk about here in a little bit. But in the first game, you remember that quest where you went to defeat the gargoyles and you rang the bell?
I don't know if I made it there.
So you have to go to this one part where you kill this gargoyle, which is a pain in the ass, and ring this bell. Mm-hmm. And the cool thing is that every time someone rang a bell, the bell rang. And it was always this neat thing, right? Because you were like, oh man, somebody did it. Good job.
Oh, cool.
You always get really excited for people, right? Which I always liked. And I like that too, that if you ask people, because it's not like, or at least most of the bosses, maybe the bosses are a little different actually now that I'm thinking about it. More on that. But most of the enemies, they're not all like, say, I'm trying to think of another RPG, Mass Effect's coming to mind, or like Skyrim or something, where there's really only one way to defeat them, right? Like, oh, you just got to dodge this one attack and then go and do this, right? As you said, there's lots of different things you can try, and you can go to different areas and you do different things, and it's cool. So far, and I've only fought 2 or 3 bosses now. 2 or 3, I think. Yeah, 3. So far, they feel a little similar to Dark Souls bosses, which is one of my complaints. Because Dark Souls bosses were almost all the same strategy. Get behind them, attack, roll, roll, roll. Get behind them, attack, roll, roll, roll. Yep. The gargoyle was really the only, I'm thinking about the gargoyle is actually one of the only examples where you couldn't do that because his little fire-breathing friend came. That fight sucked.
Getting behind the enemy is the key to like pretty much all of Dark Souls enemies.
It kind of is like those guys that have the shield and the sword.
Yeah.
Just target them and get behind them.
Circle. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And run in a circle and keep doing that and rolling occasionally because most of them are so lumbering. Now, it's not as basic as it sounds because sometimes they will surprise the shit out of you. Yeah. Like generally the 1, 2, 3, but then every now and then they will turn and or they're standing in a corner or standing next to a ledge. Like you can't just run and get behind them. So you gotta dance with these assholes, and that part kind of sucks. Not gonna lie. But the boss has always been things. So let's talk about online. I mean, have you really had a chance to get online since it's only been on for like a day?
It went live the same day the Titanfall came out, so no, I haven't. I haven't been able to revisit the game since the servers went on.
Well, it went live when I was out of town, so unfortunately I haven't had a chance to either because I've always really liked the online component. I get a little irritated when people invade your world. I'm not gonna lie.
But in one they don't really like. They were like a ghost, right?
That could kill you.
What? In Dark Souls 1?
Yeah. If they had the red crystal and they came in as a phantom, they could fucking kill you.
What was the point of that?
Just to add a little bit of competitiveness, and you had to. What do you have to do to get that red crystal? You have to do something specific to get that thing. But otherwise, you could go in as a ghost. You could summon other people's ghosts to help you fight bad guys, and that was so cool, right? That is how online should be done in an RPG. And this cooperative shit, or like partying stuff. Let's just team up on this bad guy, and then I'll come help you team up on a bad guy when you need it. The message system is occasionally helpful, but generally not. I like the message system, but I can't tell you how many times you get to a ledge, and it's like, try jumping. Like, that was so funny the first 20 times.
Yeah, that's true.
No. But it's kind of, as you said, I always feel like there's kind of a community around the Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I was about to say around the Dark Souls community. That was awesome. But it kind of feels like there's a community around the series, and I like that. And I'm hoping that, you can't really see it right now because it's really only reviewers. But on that note, I do have a theory about Dark Souls. Dark Souls, and this also brings us to the patience part. I don't think Dark Souls is, I think it's really, it's hard to review the game because it's not meant to be just plowed through. It is designed for people who want to take their time, who want to savor it. Like Dan Tack is 45 hours into the game,
Mm-hmm.
and even he's waiting for it to come out on PC because he's already said he's like, there's so much stuff I want to go and do still. That's a full work week.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Just to get to the end, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. So it's not meant for that. And again, that's something in our current gaming landscape. Like, I mean, and as reviewers, especially because you just said, you're like, well, Titanfall came out, so I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it hard. And in this current gaming landscape where what's coming out, what's next, what's bigger, what's better, what's coming out next, it's a niche game.
Yeah, you get what you pay for, though, for that $60. You get a lot of games.
God, yeah, you do. I mean, yeah, pretty much any time you go over the 20 or 30 hour mark,
mm-hmm.
you're starting to kind of feel like you owe the developer more money.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, we are now approaching, like, especially Dark Souls. I think I have 80 or 90 hours in that game now. So it's like, again, I kind of feel like I owe them money. Like, I should give you at least $10 more. Here you go.
Right.
And the other thing I like about Dark Souls, knocking on wood, they don't nickel and dime you with DLCs.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's not like most RPGs.
I think it seems like, I might be wrong about this, but just based on my observations, it really seems like DLC and paid DLC is like an American thing. Like JRPGs usually don't ram the
Final Fantasy.
What DLC comes with Final Fantasy?
There's one coming out for Lightning Returns.
Get out of here! Really?
Yeah.
Didn't even know that. But
yeah, I think there was one maybe for the last one too.
Really?
But Capcom does it a lot. Capcom, yeah. I mean, how many times do we hear about on-disc DLC found?
Yeah, okay. With
Capcom has embraced that wholeheartedly.
I was thinking more of like Ni no Kuni, the Tales series.
Right. They're mostly contained games, yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing from Atlas ever has it, and I'm probably going to jinx myself saying this, but I don't think Namco has anything for DLC. Screw you, Capcom.
Yeah, Namco never... Not even the fighting Tekken.
No, they don't ever do that, do they?
Murata is anti-DLC. He's like, I love his statement about it. He's like, you wouldn't sell a chessboard with just some of the pieces and then release some of the pieces later. It's like, yeah, you're right.
Oh, I like that quote. That's a good quote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that one is really good. Yeah, I like that Dark Souls comes as a finished product. What you get is the game.
Yep.
And there's a lot of stuff I like about it. I like the Souls games, even though I'm not good at Dark Souls. I totally admit this. I die a lot. I don't want to tell you how often I run around with half a health bar. Like, it's ridiculous. And I'm sure if it took Dan Tack 45 minutes to beat the game, it's probably going to take me 90. Excuse me, hours. 45 hours. Yeah. It's probably going to take me 90 hours to beat the game because I'm just not that good at it. But I love it. And I enjoy it because I do have patience. I do have patience, and I don't get that frustrated with games.
It demands respect. I'll give it that. It
does.
It's unique, and there really isn't another series out there like it. It's pretty interesting.
It's hard to explain it as that because I feel like a lot of games, especially probably in the last 5 or 6 years, can be described like this. But
absolutely, like everything, every game can be.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Can almost always. Well, it's like this, but Dark Souls is kind of hard to do that with. I mean, if anything, I would almost try to say it's like D&D First Edition, but a video game. Like, that's a D&D joke I just made. So, I feel like that's really the closest thing to compare it to. I mean, because even in terms of RPGs, God, you'd really have to dig back into the 90s to find one that really has that same level of zero hand-holding, open-ish. Yeah. And it's so hard. I love it. But did you have any final thoughts you wanted to get out about Dark Souls? Anything we haven't covered?
Not that I can think of. Not that I can think of now. I think we covered everything.
So you've gone on to Titanfall. Are you going to go back to Dark Souls and finish her up?
Yes. It's tough because I want to go back to Dark Souls when like no one's when my friends, like my core friends, aren't playing Titanfall, because it's usually like Titanfall's like a social gathering type of thing.
It is.
But there are so many people playing Titanfall that there's always like one person who's available to play Titanfall.
Yep.
But I am going to revisit Dark Souls 2 shortly. Like, yeah, before the week is over. Yeah. So I want to get back to it.
Yeah. You know, at first, people were saying, they're like, I can't believe it's coming out the same week as Titanfall. And I was like, they're really not going for the same audience, guys.
Yeah.
But it's as you said that a lot of people, if your friends are playing Titanfall, you're going to go play Titanfall. And, like, fortunately for us, we have a 360 and a 1 and 2 TVs, although I'm relegated to the tiny little TV because my husband is totally into Titanfall. Totally into it. He took tomorrow off to play it. So, like, I'm fortunate that I could go off and play Dark Souls on my own. But, yeah, it was a rough week to come out against.
Yeah, it is. It's funny. It's like the anti-Titanfall. Like, there's nothing. You're in your world. Like, it does have the online, and so there's kind of social aspects to it. But it's like when you sit down, like you're in there alone. That's your realm.
Yeah, it's very anti-shooter mentality, and I know like that sounds like it's an RPG, but it's very anti-shooter mentality.
Yeah. It's after it goes against like everything, like we were talking about DLC, like the whole industry goes in one direction and Dark Souls goes in its own.
I think, actually there is a game you can kind of compare it to, not thematically, not gameplay-wise, not really, bear with me here. It reminds me of The Witcher a little bit in that it has a niche audience, it's not for everyone, and they know that. And they don't care. They are happy, they know their audience, they play to their audience, and they just focus on it. And I feel like the Witcher series does that a bit. They're branching out a little with The Witcher 3, but they still seem cognizant of the fact that not everyone's going to play this game.
Right.
Not everyone's going to love this game, and they don't care.
And those niche audiences are devoted. They love it, yeah.
Yes, they are, and that's good.
Yeah.
I like, and this goes beyond games. I like when shows, comics, anything that has a niche devoted following, when they know and love their audience. Because they said, like, when he first had said, he's like, oh, we're going to make it more accessible. Souls fans flipped out. Mm-hmm. He has spent the entire time backtracking, saying, no, we're not making it more accessible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because more accessible usually means dumbed down.
Sure. Usually does.
So I have a cat rolled and tangled up in my hall rug. This is a thing right now. Okay. Anyways, so Mr. Parker, would you like to tell us where we can find your content and you?
You can find my content in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette or on Twitter at GameGuyPGH, all one word. Titanfall review is printing on Saturday. I have a kind of like a test drive piece about Xbox One streaming app that's going live tomorrow. And then my South Park review just went live today. So, busy week.
Very good South Park review, by the way.
Thank you.
I concur that it should definitely be in Game of the Year contender.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's, like, when I wrote the review, like, because I mentioned that Trey Parker and Matt Stone did such a fantastic job. Like, this is like their first crack at video games, and they make one of the funniest games ever made. And it's kind of sad, like, they're not going to do another game. Like, this is it. Though they have other projects and they're busy with other things. They have a lot to offer. Their writing style could offer a lot to video games. I'd like to see them make more, but they probably won't.
It's true, and after all the THQ stuff, I'm not necessarily sure that making this game left a very good taste in their mouth.
It always seems like they're miserable with their projects. Like when you see like behind the scenes for Team America, they're like, "This was agony."
Well, I think it's any time they get third parties involved, because South Park is basically their show, right? Yeah. And I mean that in more way than one. It's their show. Mm-hmm. anytime they seem to get more than that involved, they're just miserable. Right? Yeah. And I think this is special. I hope not, but we'll have to see. Mm-hmm. I don't know. We just digressed. So you can follow me at Jen Bozier. You can find my content on videogamewriters.com or on thedailycrate.com. I will have Dark Souls reviews hopefully next week on both sites, as a matter of fact. And my beauty that I got today, the Dark Souls 2 Collector's Edition Guide came in today.
Oh my god, I didn't see how big it was.
Oh my gosh, this thing is so thick. And the reason I got it, I'm usually not a game guide person. The reason I got it is because they haven't really announced an art book yet, and if it's like Dark Souls art book, it won't be that good. This has a lot of art in it. It's a very pretty book.
Why wouldn't a Dark Souls art book be good? There's a ton of unique art in the series.
So Dark Souls, the first Dark Souls art book was done by Udon, and I am not a big fan of Udon's art books. They're really hit or miss. Some of them are really good, and then other ones are not good. Like their Darksiders 2 book was really good, but the Dark Souls book, not that great. And it's like this, no. Anyways, so I got it for mostly the art, and it's a nice book. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to help me die less. So there's that. But anyways, you can follow us at Furious Fourcast. If you're listening to this podcast, chances are you found us either on YouTube at FuriousFourcast.com, on iTunes, on Android, or on your Windows phone. If you found us on one place, go and find us on the other. We are always entertaining and, I guess, Dark Souls-y. Not really. Next week, the gang will all be back together, including a special guest star, Carrie Honey, where we are going to discuss In Defense of the Dude Bro Gamer, which is kind of odd considering that we're just talking about the anti-Dude Bro Gamer game this evening. So, give us a listen and be sure to tune in. In the meantime, we thank you for joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful evening.
Thanks for watching this Furious Forecast one-shot episode. If you can't get enough of our pretty faces, then go ahead and click that subscribe button.